This stream contains fast-flashing images that may affect viewers who are susceptible to photosensitive epilepsy and other photosensitivities. Viewer discretion is advised.
Today, 4 North American teams will take the stage and fight for a shot at making the Stage 2 playoffs. Hello and welcome to Day 3 of VCT Americas Super Week, coming to you live from the Riot Games Arena here in beautiful Los Angeles, California. I'm Geek Heavy here. Finally, it happened.
Dude, that's messed up.
That was like super delayed. Dang. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Super Week. I'm Geek Heavy. Joining
What
me.
is going on? We need to talk about this. We need to talk about this.
Enough.
Golden Boy was getting his instantly.
I'm
Come on
very upset about
about?
that. But joining me here at the desk, we have Athena, Mimi, and Ender. How are y'all doing?
Great. Wonderful.
Living the dream.
Yes, you are. Y'all were living the dream just 2 days ago, too. I'm just joining y'all here during Super Week. You know, I wish I could have been here. Thank
There
you.
we
Thank you
go.
so
Oh
much.
my
Oh, there's lighting.
There's lighting.
Yeah,
effects.
yeah.
Yeah, that was actually real.
The lights are flickering in the studio. But yeah, you all were here for the matches that we had yesterday. Let's definitely talk about what happened on this very stage yesterday. First, we had a battle of Brazil between Loud and MIBR. And then we saw 100 Thieves take on Leviathan.
I think they were the ones that took on there. There was not a lot of 100
Here's
Thieves.
the funny thing is, though, during the predictions, though, you all were on the side of 100 Thieves, except for Golden Boy.
Whoa.
What?
Except I was talking some hype on
That
Lev.
wasn't me.
You were. No, you
But
definitely
didn't
weren't.
tread them. I think that was a surprise, but I also think Loud not stomping MIBR was a big surprise
Oh, yeah.
too, right? I think they played below the level we normally expect from them. It was a rough game, but they still pulled things through. But this was definitely a shocker, especially this second map, so dominant for Lev.
For sure. The first map looked so good. It looked so good, and then it didn't. It came close. The second map was just insane. That Haven, they played it phenomenally. 100 Thieves had nowhere to go, it felt like.
The King highlight reels Mazzino, too. I mean, that was basically a 3v5 for Leviathan. 2 of their players just instantly won it out on their own. It just goes to show how strong this team can be. And I think the approach they came in, seeing Ospas on the Neon,
Yes.
popping off on Haven, too, like, that was a big sign to me because I wasn't sure if he was actually going to be playing those new agents because he's so good on the Raze and the Jet, but he looked lights out on that Neon.
Yeah, and we heard it from Zix himself. 100 Thieves is definitely in a slump after the rough performance at Shanghai. Now losing 2 matches in a row, their playoff chances are very much up in the air. It's a really tough position for this squad to be in, for our Stage 1 champs to be in even. 100 Thieves really have to turn things around and win out to have that chance to defend that title.
Yeah, and the question is, like, how do they do that, though, Mimi? Like, what is it that they could possibly do today to kind of turn things around?
I think a lot of it for 100 Thieves comes down to the fundamentals, the little things. They were getting bullied on their spacing against Leviathan. So many of these moments where players are slightly off on the timings into sight, getting punished by Lev. I also think a lot of it also has to just be mental. You lost a few in a row. You just need that win to get yourself out of the rut.
I feel like, too, when I was watching 100 Thieves, I saw a lot of the same things happening over and over. It didn't feel like they had that much
was
of
the
a
same against
switch up.
Furia.
Yeah, they didn't have like a switch up to their gameplay, their speed, their tempo. Felt like they were really trying to figure out the cracks and kind of fix that foundation. But I don't think doing it on stage is the right time to do it. So.
Yeah, well, you know what? Let's talk about today's schedule because today's all NA, baby. First, we'll be seeing NRG take on G2 Esports, and then it's Sentinels versus Cloud9.
I just want to come out here and say it. This is the single best Monday in the history of VALORANT. Look, NRG, G2, FNS versus Val Sentinels C9. Well, it's a slugfest today.
There's been a lot of Mondays.
Yeah, but usually we only have one game, Mimi.
But you said history
This is
bound. In the history of America's
this is a pretty great Monday. Usually it's the Saturdays and Sundays that are
Truly the
nice.
anti-Garfield.
When have we ever played a final on a Monday? Never. When have we had 2 games? Like hardly ever. Come on.
Yeah, that's true.
Well,
It's gonna
honestly,
be amazing.
It's Super Week.
Honestly, it's there you
There
go.
you go.
Oh, so
Wow,
Ender
the
gets it on time and I don't.
That's
Okay,
crazy,
okay.
actually.
Well,
That's
you know what? Well, hopefully everyone, all the teams come out with guns ablazing. And you know what? A question for the desk here. Speaking of guns, this is called a segue. What's your favorite?
It's a strong segue.
Wow.
It worked though, okay? It's a 4-wheel drive Segway if those exist. I don't know if they do. Anyways,
That's called a car.
That's what it is.
Is it a segue if we didn't segue yet?
No, not really, actually.
They're usually like two-wheel
Let him talk.
Wait, what's your favorite rifle? Phantom or Vandal? Mimi?
Phantom, by far. I think it is just clearly better. You can spam easier. I think it's easier to burst with. You can run and gun if you need to on the movement sometimes. Spamming through smokes, I think, is one of the biggest things, especially when you're playing defense. You're playing against ISO, you can spam it down. I think it's just better in every way. Most people aren't getting a 150
You
Vandal
can't
headshot.
one-shot headshot, though, so.
Yeah.
You can a lot of the time.
Have you tried just aiming with the Vandal?
Just aim.
Headshot.
It's just
You don't need to spam through smoke if you hit your shots, Mimi.
Have you tried just bursting with the Phantom?
No, because I will one-tap instead. It's more
I've
optimal.
seen you. You crouch
All right,
for
so
every Vandal.
it sounds like we're not in
Vandal.
agreement here, but you know what? We asked the very same question to our players in this installment of Profiles. Let's take a look.
Phantom ou Vandal, eu gosto das duas. Na realidade, eu escolho os lados que eu vou usar. Como eu jogo de controlador, tem muita gente que eu preciso atirar nas smokes, então eu uso Phantom. Mas normalmente de ataque, eu tô sempre de Vandal. E de defesa, eu tô sempre de Phantom.
I have to say Vandal. I hate 140 in one. It's the bane of my existence. It always happens in an important moment.
Depende do mapa. Acho que eu tô usando mais Vandal agora, porque é melhor pra você pegar a primeira kill, principalmente de defesa, e a de ataque também você precisa pegar uma first kill. Acho que a Vandal é melhor, porque é só um tiro na cabeça.
Definitely Phantom for me. I think it's just because my aiming style and the way, the kind of fights that I like taking and how I like taking them.
Vandal. I don't know. I tried playing with a Phantom and it just doesn't feel as like satisfying whenever I like kill someone.
Como preferencia, me gusta más la Vandal, pero siento que la Phantom es más efectiva en muchos más momentos, tipo.
Okay, back in the day, I would say Phantom. Everyone back in the day was just using Phantom, but right now everyone's on the Vandal, so I would just say Vandal. It just feels more crispy.
Phantom just clears. To me, I don't know if I'll ever pick up a Vandal again. The Phantom is just too nice. It just feels clean when you get the kills that you do. You're also able to consistently spray through smokes and get away with spam kills without getting spammed back. It just feels cleaner in your hands.
Vandal porque é só tiro pra matar.
Okay, Phantom is the better gun no matter what, especially in the meta with like neon walls and everything. Like there is actually a lot of smokes, so Phantom for that reason, but we're swapping to the Vandal.
Phantom, because I think you get a lot more value out of it. Like you can spray through smokes, you can like transfer faster because it resets faster than the Vandal, and the multi-kill potential is higher, I think.
I would go for Phantom. I mean, I've always been playing with Phantom since the beta, and sometimes I play Vandal because, you know, 140 on a headshot is kind of lame. It gets in your head sometimes, and I feel like my last matches in the tournament, I was playing more Vandal because I died a lot because the guy one-shot me, and then I one-shot him, but he won because I had a Vandal. But I really love Phantom, though.
Vandal, com certeza. Vandal tiro na cabeça, é bem mais fácil de matar do que a Phantom.
Vandal. It's been really satisfying holding angles and just one-tapping lately.
I've recently switched to the Vandal for the last like 2-3 months. So the Phantom reign for me is over.
Atualmente Vandal, mas no começo da minha carreira eu era Phantom player. Talvez eu deva voltar.
Vandal. One tap ability is 10 times better than whatever the Phantom can give me.
Sometimes I use the Phantom, but Vandal is better. And the Phantom randomly whiffs bullets. It's not you, it's the Phantom.
This is an exciting time in VALORANT. Teams are experimenting with the new meta. Now, there are so many options to choose from. Now, let's head into the kitchen for some comp critiques.
Oh, that's what the hat was.
Amazing.
Yes. Oh, I just like to wear
I feel like you grew that mustache pretty quickly.
I just flexed and it just grew on my face.
Wow, that's great.
Now, today, the desk will sample some of the comps our teams have been serving during stage 2. Now, do they make for a satisfying meal or will they offend your palate? First up, we have a clove ISO confit from Evil Geniuses that's served with a generous helping of poached harbor. What do we make of this?
Personally,
I like the presentation.
Yep, presentation's good, clean, cooked. I think it's very well cooked, actually, personally.
You think so? Why?
Okay, hear me out. I think the ISO and the harbor makes it so that you can scale into sites a lot easier. I know it's a little harder towards B, but you still have the ability to kind of scale. You have the cove to get the plant down. You have some abilities, and also you go crazy. You go firepower, tank, go whole W and kill.
My one thing about this dish, I feel like it's very indexed into the defensive side. You have a lot of tools to be forward fighting towards A. You have good retakes with your Harbor and the clove smokes as well. But I feel like on attack, it's kind of a struggle to go towards B to actually get that spike down. You don't have a Sage, a Gecko, any of those tools you normally have to scale that space.
I think you're right in that sense, but I also think this comp is getting some pretty big power ults that can help you out in hitting a site, whether that's a Harbor ult or an ISO snatching away a Viper or a Killjoy from that B side of the map. I think that once you actually get later on into an half and can start scaling on with some of those ultimates, you get a lot more firepower.
I see this as a very seasonal dish. You want it when ISO's fresh, when he's in his best place, but once he's out of season, it's a no-go. And I fear it's out of season with the nerfs.
I believe you. So how many Michelin stars would we give this one?
None.
None? No, 0 Michelin stars.
Are very hard to get. That's not necessarily an indictment of the comp.
No. All right, well, fair enough. Well, next up, we have something traditional. This has come from 100 Thieves, and it's a slow-aged Jet Haven comp with a dash of free-range KO.
Whatever that means. I mean, KO is the odd thing in this comp, and really it feels like they're missing a pretty big ingredient. They sub out a breach with that fault line control, especially for a lobby control, and they put in a KO. I was open to the idea initially, seeing like that knife they used on their attack defaults, clearing all that A short space, but both the teams they played against realized they could just stay outside of that knife range and then quickly refight in with a breach.
I feel like it's just a little bit too bland for my palate, where it's so two-dimensional. Like, once you use that knife for retakes or use it for that early information, you can't really do that much with it. And you're giving up, like you said, the breach stun, the breach flashes, the abilities that you can actually fight forward with. And I feel like KO just kind of makes it a little bit bland for me.
We were talking about this, but I think this dish is really strong when it's in the context of playing against Viper Harbor. Back when that was a thing, the KO flash is really good to flood retake when you have that. But I think with that out of the meta a little bit more, having those breach flashes are still great for retake, and that stun is just so valuable that the dish feels incomplete without it to me.
Yeah, so the KO makes this particular dish a little bit bland, but I have something especially delicioso for you. Maybe you're like our last dish. It's a European, you know.
Where are you from now?
I'm from here. I am from here. Now, this next dish is European, which means fancy and exotic. It's a Haven dish from Fnatic. You have a Cypher, Yoru, and ISO medley served with a side of Sova and Omen chutney.
Oh
Yummy.
My goodness, delicious. British food that is now in Berlin is always famously good.
Yeah, not the most seasoned, I can speak from experience, or exotic. Honestly, this is like a pretty standard comp that we're seeing on a lot of different maps in terms of like ISO, and you're in Europe. A lot of EMEA teams have been playing ISO and Yoru. And the reason is, if you think ISO is very overpowered and you must put him in your comp, you're taking out a slot. And on Haven especially, pretty much all maps, you need an agent that's giving you flashes, and you need agents that are giving you dashes. When you put in ISO, you can't all of a sudden run Breach and Jetsil or Breach and Neon, so the Yoru gives you a little bit of both with the TP and the flashes. It works if the ISO is popping.
I mean, I don't know. I just feel like it's a one and done kind of comp where you run it once just to kind of like get them off guard, get the enemies off guard, and I feel like that works. I agree with you. ISO has to be popping off, and it kind of depends solely on that. And for that reason, I think it's just like not a consistent, stable comp. You play it once you get that win, like, you know, it's over.
So we're not expecting to see this particular comp here in America.
I don't think so,
No.
especially after the ISO changes. I think when ISO was at his best, I actually really like this comp as a one-off, as something to try, but I don't think it is the optimal comp on the map in any way. I like the experimentation, but I don't expect any teams to change to this, but I don't think it's horrible.
Yeah. All right, well, there you have it. Those are the art comp critiques. And I'm going to take this hat off because I can't really breathe, and this mustache. The hat wasn't causing me not to breathe. Anyways, let's get into today's first matchup, NRG versus G2 Esports. And while these two orgs haven't met on stage, the cores have some history. Back at Masters Reykjavik, Optic defeated the Guard and sent them to the lower bracket where they were eliminated. Now, of course, we're talking about the core still being the same, but are these relatively different teams today?
They are, but I think the biggest thing that is similar is the IGLs, the players that have been there since the beginning. You have Valen, Jonah, Trent up against the classic Victor Crashes duo, now reunited with Finesse. This game was, I think, a really pivotal point in the Guards' run as a team. They had beaten Optic back in Challengers in North America. People had super high hopes for this team. But when the moment counted, they lost. They went down to the lower bracket, lost to Paper Rex, and were out of that event in the first round after really high hopes. But even if the cores are the same, this G2 team now has grown so much since then, and Shanghai proved that.
I feel like for both these teams, the biggest takeaway is the foundation and the fundamentals that they bring, as well as the playstyle that they kind of bring to the table. And I feel like G2 has developed a lot more layers to that playstyle, as we've seen throughout VCT stages. And now coming to NRG, you know, you kind of gone back and forth with how they want to play, who's the IGL, who's kind of setting up the stone for the foundation. I'm like, I don't know exactly where they stand on like what layer they're at.
Yeah, which makes a lot of sense when the core of G2 have stuck together for a long time. But now NRG are bringing back FNS and SOM into the team. They haven't had a lot of time to play it with each other recently, even though, of course, you've got that history.
Yeah, well, you know what? For more on this rematch, let's hear what VALORANT had to say to Elizabeth.
Now, VALORANT, you're facing off against the Optic core for the first time since Masters Reykjavik, which was a bit ago. Did you ever think you were going to get this rematch? Because I saw you on Twitter, you said that you were looking forward to this one.
Definitely not, especially when SOM and FNS announced that they were going to start streaming again instead of competing. But I'm glad that they came back because I've always wanted to play against FNS again. Last time he beat me internationally, so I'm looking to get my revenge now and just kind of prove that I can be a top IGL as well. That's why I've been excited for this match.
Well, speaking of being a top IGL, you know, being a smart person, they competed last week. Obviously, all the eyes were watching them. What is your read on them? Do you think they're up to par?
I mean, I think so for sure. I think they had a pretty close match versus Sentinels, and I think Sen's one of the top teams, so they've showed a bit of promise, and now that they have more time, maybe they can be a bit even more prepared. But, you know, knowing our team, we've been ready for this matchup for a while now, so I don't think whatever they do is going to matter.
Well, best of luck.
Wow, those are mighty big words coming from VALORANT there. Now, despite G2's strong performance as of late, they still need to fight for a playoff slot. Now, the top 6 spots are still up for grabs, so every single team wants a big win today. And Ender, I guess the question is, how do they do it?
Well, I mean, by getting 13 rounds. Yeah. Honestly, for me, just looking at where these teams are in the standings right now, they're right on the borderline, right? You've got G2 that are sitting 4-3 currently, NRG that are sitting 3-4. So NRG winning all of a sudden throws this middle of the pack into turmoil, as you can have a lot of teams sitting right on the edge there at 4-4.
And for G2 as well, I mean, they're in a very similar position as some of these other teams that have had top performances, like 100 Thieves and themselves, who have made it to international events, but are still up in the air if they can even make playoffs because of slower starts to the season. So this win is massive for G2.
Yeah, I feel like for every single one of these teams, they are exactly like middle of the pack too. It feels like this is really close combat for every single one of these teams. And going into it, like you said, like everyone has to win because we don't know who's going to make that top 6 at all. It is literally all up in the air right now. And so they always have to go for that win. It's not a matter of like, oh, if we lose this one, we can win the next 2. It's not really like that. They have to push forward.
And the important distinction too is they're middle of the pack in the standings. But for G2 especially, I think when you're looking at the power, the expectations of these teams, they're much higher than that. So losses here, not making playoffs, would be a huge disappointment for this team.
Absolutely. Yeah. VALORANT even spoke in an interview recently how he doesn't want to leave things up to chance. So he wants to win each and every one of these matches because if you start losing now, well, then it's like, all right, you're going to start hoping that other people are winning, other people are losing, so that you can qualify certain places.
You can straight up go from being a top 3 team in the world to not making it into playoffs. The harsh reality is that playoffs from stage 1 and Shanghai don't actually factor in to their current standings. That is just for regular season games, which makes it so important that G2 was able to show up last week against C9.
And this game, it felt like in a lot of ways they didn't have business winning this one. We went to a map 3, Cloud9 was up, but they crumbled towards the end. An incredibly called defensive side from VALORANT got them back on the board. It was really reminiscent of some of those Shanghai games on the very same map where they were down at half, and then players like Jonah, like Leaf are stepping up as these anchors and saving the game. But G2, I think, did look a little bit rougher than Shanghai, but I did feel like that was to be expected with how short the turnaround was.
For sure. I mean, we talked a little bit about G2's playstyle. It's so consistent, and you've had a stronger core than all the other teams where we've had this kind of stability with 3 or 4 of these players constantly playing together. So you expect it to be a lot cleaner of a game and a lot cleaner of fundamentals, but it didn't really look like that. But I think now that they do have a little bit more time, hopefully it kind of goes.
It's chill. It's their first game back. I honestly...
I'm just saying.
To be fair, though, we did see what happened with Sentinels, so you gotta pick up the pieces a little quicker.
Yeah. I will say, out of this game, I did not love what they were showing on Ascent. I think the Neon comp was kind of weak, especially on their attacking sides. There's a lot of these rounds where, like, Icy is basically being set up to take one-on-ones, because oftentimes as Neon, you're not going to have that trade, and was missing out on those opportunities, which could have lost them that map, and honestly, this series, too. There's a real world where that could have been a Cloud9 2-0.
Absolutely. Now, on the other side, we have NRG. Now, they made roster changes and brought back FNS and some, but they got too old by a well-rested Sentinels. Now, I'm kind of curious, do we think this was a good showing for NRG right out of the gate? I mean, we did see some unique comps from them, but overall, what do we think?
I just feel like when I was watching this, you could just tell that they weren't fully happy and comfortable with where they were as a team. And they were still kind of figuring out the synergy, how the players were supposed to play together. I mean, at a certain point, yes, you can call your whole team to kind of victory, but it just felt like you need those individual players to be making those decisions for themselves, taking those hero plays that they normally would. And it just felt so disconnected for me.
I see where you're coming from.
You didn't have to yell at me for it.
You gotta add some impact
my
to what's
bad.
going on.
My bad.
I see where you're coming from, but I actually felt like they surpassed my expectations. On Lotus, they had way more set plays and ideas around the Neon comp than I thought they would. They actually looked really well rehearsed in that regard. Where things were falling apart, I think, was late rounds to some individual Sen players, where they were leaving some of these gaps in their post funds where things weren't quite perfectly drilled. But despite all that, they nearly came back on Lotus. The calling from Finesse on that attacking side to constantly find the right gap for Victor was incredibly impressive to me, and actually gave me a lot of faith that NRG, with another week of practice, could actually be in pretty good form.
That's actually true, and a lot of that probably owes well to how old, sorry.
Seasoned.
How seasoned.
Seasoned.
I can say it because I'm also old. How seasoned the players are on this roster, because they all kind of put in the work to play the way they play. They know how it is to kind of adapt to different roster changes and everything. And so I feel like this going into it is going to be great. But this face-off is going to be super important, because this is IGL battle.
Absolutely.
Valorant and FNS, yes.
It's vintage. It is vintage between Valorant and FNS. And honestly, I think the form Valorant has been in since Stage 1 playoffs has been amazing. I love the way this team calls, and I think the way that G2 have sort of adapted over the year. Because I thought early on, like Kickoff, I was very critical of them because they're playing very heavy on the defense side to try and retake into the team. But ever since the roster changes that came in, G2 have been far more proactive on the defensive side from Valorant's calling.
Now, of course, you know, FNS isn't the only returning player. We also have Sam. What do we think of his performance?
I think it's honestly about what I expected, right? Yeah. When he was scoring he was really lighting the world on fire, right, on his first debut. But I feel like he did his job in this game. He hit the shots he needed to, but he wasn't lights out in any way.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like definitely did his job. Personally, I don't know if I was expecting more flashier things, but I feel like he did do a really good job of just playing that controller and playing it well. I feel like he did what he had to do for his team. He made some calls, I feel like, in the mid-round for his own aggression with the Omen, and I don't know. I feel like it was okay for me, personally.
Yeah, I mean, I think performance-wise, I don't really have complaints. I am very perplexed by the Clove still. I do not buy in to that agent. I think losing the Paranoia is a major, major miss. So if you're not putting up significantly better numbers on the agent that should be going and fighting, then I don't know. I would personally like to see a shift back to Omen on Lotus.
Something that did feel positive to me, though, when the last time we saw him play, he was almost always playing into the harbor in a ton of their maps, and I felt like a lot of the time NRG was asking a little bit too much of him. He had to constantly be smoking in all these different positions. It seemed like sometimes he was getting overwhelmed by his duties as a controller to perform in some of these games. But here with Victor back in the Neon, being kind of the brunt of how are we going to start our early round? What is our opening gambit? Things like that. It lightened the load on on Sam a little bit, and that actually gives me faith that he's going to return to form in the future, especially if they're giving him the freedom to play the Clove, play the Omen.
Sure.
I don't think the Clove is optimal. I don't really like it, but I kind of respect it in setting him up to succeed for a new team.
I want to see like the old, like the Sam Omen on Breeze. Like that's the kind of vibe that I want out of my Sam gameplay.
Yeah, well, I'm curious what we'll be getting. Actually, we actually have Sam standing by with Elizabeth before today's match. Let's see what he has to say.
All right, Sam, just for clarification, I need to know how long you guys have been practicing together.
We've probably been practicing for around a month now.
Okay. What are like the top 3 things you're going to need to fix going into stage 2? Because you have a pretty tough schedule.
Yeah, I think for now we'll just take it game by game. Everyone knows we have a pretty tough schedule, but it's the way it is, and if we take it one game at a time, it'll be okay.
I saw you in Sabrosa's chat kind of talking about how you seemed a little stressed about the schedule, and this was going to be quite difficult for you. But that's just text. How have scrims made you feel? Like, do you feel more confident? Do you feel like, oh, this is going to be kind of a struggle?
Yeah, I think scrims have been going pretty well for us, honestly. We do a lot of losing, but losing in scrims is like learning, so it's okay. I think scrims have overall been going well. We've been learning a lot every day. And as for Sabrosa's Twitch chat, yeah, I'm just messing with him.
All right, fair enough. Well, failure is your best teacher. Best of luck.
Last August, NRG was eliminated at Champions 2023 following a second loss to Bilibili Gaming. If this NRG team wants a chance to make playoffs and get a shot at redemption, maybe even a chance at revenge against Bilibili in Champ Seoul, they need to win out the rest of their schedule. Today, they're taking on G2 Esports, a squad that is in the best form we have ever seen from them. They finished 3rd at Masters Shanghai, and 2 days after that, not much time, they'll have to defeat Kesnet and Crew Visa, a team that dominated Americas in Stage 1. 4 days after that, they'll take on Cloud9, who have racked up 5 wins already this year. It's a tall order, especially considering the fact that Finesse and Sam just rejoined this roster after 10 months away from competing and barely a month of practice. NRG only has 6 days to get these 3 crucial wins on the board to keep their fate of playoffs in their own hands. It's one of the biggest challenges this team and this IGL have ever faced. And the question is, do we think it's possible?
I mean, it is a really tall order.
The schedule is brutal.
It really is. And again, like, you know, with FNS and Sam coming back with not too much practice, I mean, what is the reality of them being able to do this?
I mean, the problem as an IGL, it's like you have this short turnaround to be as innovative and not as readable as possible. You also have to kind of build this foundation for everyone on what exactly you want the playstyle for this week to be, or necessarily for the comp to be. And you also have to figure out your map pool right away. It's really rough to have this short turnaround, and it's really hard on all the players. But again, like, that's why VCT matters, because like it's a matter of who can show up week after week.
Straight up, the chances are incredibly, incredibly low. And if they're to do it, like, that is a major feat. I would be astounded.
Yeah, it would be incredible if they can pull it off. But I do want to give this team some credit. I think that they're trying to get on the right side of the meta, playing Victor into Neon. This is honestly a really similar patch to back when this team was at their best.
Yeah, old Victor Neon was pretty sweet.
Yeah, locking him in,
They're so back.
on the chamber,
They're so
things
back.
like that. And Finesse's calling actually looked pretty impressive in that first game, despite the loss to Sentinels. It's a really short amount of time, but these players are so experienced.
I mean, every single one of these players can consistently perform. We've seen that through their previous careers, the rest of their history, everything, together or individually. They've all been able to perform, and consistency is key if you do want to build something out of scratch this quick.
The issue, though, is the time, as always.
Yeah.
6 days. They inherited the rough record that we saw from the earlier version of NRG in Stage 1. If they win 2 games, then it's up to deciders. They have to win all 3 of these if they want it in their hands, and that is really tough with the time in question.
Absolutely. Let's take a look at our predictions that the broadcast team put together. Look at that. Let's see. So,
yeah, there's one believer there.
Hey,
one believer.
It's me.
So I had a bit of a change of heart this morning.
Well, you can't do that,
late.
Mimi.
It was too late to change this graphic, but at the final hour, I actually think NRG have a good chance to win. I'm going to tell you why. I think that they are going to index into the Neon maps. Your Havens, your Lotuses, things like that, where Victor can look really comfortable on those agents. I think Som, I would expect a much better performance from week 1. He had his game to get comfortable. He's going to be back in control. And no matter how new, how fresh this roster is, I actually have a lot of faith in Finesse if we get into the late game. Because remember, G2 almost always goes 2-1, relies on comebacks, goes to the end. And I actually think there's a world they can do it if we get there.
I don't buy it. G2 are better.
All right. Well, I mean, I guess that's it. It's time for us to see what today is all about. Let's get day 3 of Super Week underway. Today, it's all about family. NRG versus G2. Sentinels versus Cloud9. VCT Americas starts right now.
Som needs to stay alive, juggling with the movement again. Him and Som, they're Finesse together, combined, and that is OT. To take a step, Valin forwards, just cleans both of them up.
G2 to me, they look fundamentally extremely good in that all the roles are clicking, all the players are playing at their best, and Icy kind of came way more into form. I had pretty high expectations of them already, so I think they're just meeting those.
But the ace for Icy to send us to map 3.
NRG, I mean, they brought back FNS and Som. I obviously lost to them last year for the Tokyo spot. Looking to get my revenge on them. I look up to like all of those players in terms of like just what they've done in the game and stuff. That doesn't mean like in game I'm gonna respect them. I do think that they're very capable of cooking up stuff and they have very flexible players, but I'm very confident.
I think they're a good team. Obviously, like the core has been around for a while, so they definitely have a lot of reps with each other. It was just a matter of time until they had a run like they did at Shanghai.
NRG made some changes, but I'm not too worried. I looked at a stat today that said they were the oldest team in all of VCT, so that's not very intimidating.
Riot Games Arena, let's get this NA showdown started. Make some noise for NRG! And now it's time to bring out their opponents. Make some noise for G2!
Can't be called a newcomer. We've been up for several summers, seeking how to step in commas. If you with us, buy the bundle. Say you should buy the bundle. Barely time to buy the bundle. For this turn of errors rumble. Cause you know we titans in this game, ain't no contest. If we take it to the game, turn a wild west. We ain't faking what I claim, it's a wild threat. No rook, we been a vet. Now check the mindset, by the name of G2. How to take over the world, how we come through. We just follow in the herd, we don't have to. Best forget about what you heard, probably ain't true. This ain't go to, cause you know it's G2. How to take over the world, how we come through. You just follow in the herd, we don't have to. Best forget about what you heard, probably ain't true. This ain't go to, cause you know it's G2.
Now, the optics are looking good for NRG, but can they secure a win in their new form with their old core against G2, who are looking to guard their slot in the top 6 to make playoffs? Now, that's the question on the table for today, Mimi.
I noticed what you did.
Thank you. You liked it?
It was great.
I'm gonna move on from that.
Yeah! That means she loved it.
That's the best
This is a really important game for G2, making that slot in playoffs, not going from third place at Shanghai to a lower spot here back in Americas. I think all signs should point to them winning this game. But NRG, I mean, they have the experience. They've had a bit of time to prep for this gauntlet.
Yeah, you give them one extra week. How much can FNS cook up here? Like, they've got a lot to work with, so much experience back in the bank. But I still think for me, it's just so exciting to see VALORANT versus Finesse once again. Like, who thought this was this on anyone's bingo cards for 2024? It wasn't on mine.
Yeah, I feel like as the IGLs kind of go head to head, for me, having so much time, and by so much I mean 1 week, but having so much time, you don't only prep for yourself, but you prep for the other team. And now seeing Haven, Bind, and Ascent for these IGLs is wild.
These are like the vintage maps for them to be facing against each other on.
I mean, Haven and Bind have always been two of Finesse's best maps as a caller, and we haven't seen Haven from either of these teams. With them indexing really heavy into Victor on Neon, I'd honestly expect them to just play the old classic Breach Sova Neon here.
Yeah, Victor was like the trailblazer of Neon back in the day, like on Haven especially. They were playing that when not a lot of other teams were. They played Neon on the Haven or on Ascent back in the day even.
I feel like specifically when it comes to playstyle too, both these teams have been really, really innovative. And I feel like Haven is one of those games where one of those maps actually where outplaying your opponent is super important. Being able to put pressure in different sides of the map and being able to kind of take away from what the other team's expecting. And I feel like going into this agent select, we need comps to kind of reflect that attitude for both.
Murder, we got Yoru.
Whoa, wait, whoa. Okay, his Yoru has been sick. When he played it on Breeze with old NRG, it's been a really comfortable role. Fast rotates, early fights as well.
The crazy pivots NRG can just do with who's on what role is wild. Like Ethan being their Yoru player, Victor being their Neon player. Like, you've got so many options. We were talking about the Yoru ISO as an option for comps earlier in the day, something that Fnatic was playing over in EMEA, but the Yoru is definitely a pick that is getting a lot more play globally than it has here in America.
Breach Sova locked in, and okay, Deadlock on the other side.
Oh, wow.
NRGL had that direct. Is this like a Deadlock Cypher look?
I will say that Deadlock usually needs a second Sentinel next to it to cover information on the defense, but don't slouch on Deadlock on the attack. Deadlock is a sick agent in the post plant.
Yeah.
Those stuns and the wall to get through are ruthless, and usually the way teams like to play defense on Haven is very heavy flood retake. That Deadlock is a major counter to the playstyle.
I don't know how I feel about it.
I think it's interesting.
I feel like it's definitely interesting, but I need
Clove
to
locked in.
wait a minute.
I'm liking what I'm seeing.
Double smoke
And
solo
Victor
Senti.
is the one playing it.
Yeah, so they've got a lot of things they can do specifically on defense. Expect forward smokes to fight out into mid-space early on. Also, don't forget combos. Yoru ult, Omen ult, and TPs with the Fade too. That is very Carmine Core style. You've got a lot of funny business to get up to.
Yeah, a lot of funny business indeed. Now, we're all set, so let's send things over to your court-appointed casters. Riot Games, we're going to make some noise. Here's Brand and Sideshow for the call.
Let's go! And court appointed, I mean, what is that? A comment on us being jesters? I don't know.
Probably.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. This is a match that I've been looking forward to for quite some time here. You've got the Battle of the Minds. The desk has teed it up nicely. We're going to slam dunk it home here because VALORANT versus Finesse. Finesse coming back in to the scene in general, right? Unexpected. VALORANT himself saying that. Didn't think he would get this chance of revenge for this grudge match between these two teams. I didn't even think of Leaf as well being denied the chance to even go to Tokyo last year. There's a lot to play for in this match. Not just the playoff opportunity, which of course, you know, every single win matters, especially so for NRG. But these two teams, you know, they want to win against each other for very different reasons. Old personal reasons that dates back, you know, 2 years now, but that's ancient in VALORANT terms.
It really is. And I'm going to be paying attention to these two IGLs and what they're cooking up, and especially what Finesse has got planned here, because this looks like a check comp if I've ever seen one.
Oh, yeah.
Walking down mid, trying to break that turret. Pretty common pistol round idea because it takes a lot of information away from the attackers. The turret not broken, but Leaf retract it anyway. We know how G2 are going to try to approach this. They're a slow-paced team, and this composition, we've seen it tons of times before. It's NRG that are the wild cards here. Victor's holding metal, ready to do a lot of damage if this is a C exec. Think about what they've got, the tools that the defense has to work with. Paranoia, metal, very difficult to get through that if you're trying to do and execute into it. But we already see the deadlock wall going down. Only provides you 30 seconds of safety. And then suddenly, A is a lot more open.
That's the trouble with G2, is that they will literally run down the clock first 40 seconds, essentially. And just waiting out the initial util. Seeing if there's an aggressive play on the other side of things. And NRG's comp, you know, as much as it is cooking, it is lacking some of the basic necessities. You're going to see an exec now from G2. No one waiting onto the B site. NRG won't be able to really meet this one here. And it's a, faking a pivot. Utah will just try and at least disguise their intent as they head over towards the C side, and they have ripped it open.
So strike one to Valin there. I doubt that that was their intended pistol idea. One of many, perhaps. But G2 putting that together really nicely late into this round. Now a 3v5 for the rest of NRG to recover. These players were stacked over towards A.
Victor going down, still has the smokes available, of course, the paranoia. Sweeps through the garage players. Ethan was alone there towards the back of the site, trying to make something happen, anything at all, but all the possibilities just dwindle. That's a flawless pistol round for G2. Standard stuff from them, honestly, nothing out of the box.
I mean, the pistol round pathing was a little out of the box. The idea of going for that B fake into C really caught Som off guard here. You think about what Som and Victor are trying to do in that spot. They're hoping that the exec just comes straight up C so they can get max value out of Paranoia and Medal. And because of IC's pathing coming around behind them, the Medal ended up being used for that flank push, and Som got totally caught off guard. G2 already getting that early advantage in terms of unpredictability.
And just the overall calling as well.
And I think this gives us another opportunity to hammer home what Ender was talking about on the desk. You might look at this and think, okay, deadlock, double smokes, they've got paranoia and Medal. This looks good on the defense side, but you're lacking so much information. Normally,
passive map control.
Absolutely. Normally the Killjoy turret and alarm bot are going to give you information over towards B and garage until they're dealt with. You know, normally some Cypher, Trips, and a Cam are going to tell you where people are around the map. I think Valen's going to find so many opportunities to pick holes in NRG unless they're playing at an absolute peak.
Placing alarm bot.
Here, for example, here, for example, C is just wide open, right?
Yeah.
They don't even have any information there. They're playing full retake, but if G2 get reads on stuff like that, then Valen is going to start calling not just contact walks, but even contact lurks all the way through one of these empty sites.
Like you see it now. Contact up all the way just to the precipice, and now send out a bit of that util. Plan will go down. Not much to push this away. The flank kill found there. Victor not able to take out Leaf.
Leaf's going to have to be on his best behavior as well. If Victor and Som start going for flank pushes of their own, there's so many smokes that they can throw out to block off a turret.
Yeah, he has to be really worried about that.
Yeah.
But it's going to be, I mean, again, it's the plays there for them, really. NRG can try and go down to this spike. Leaf's going to hunt down the kills. He's the one without the weapon. Bates around the corner. Finesse gets the better of him.
Shot down.
And Trent now also hunting for a few cheeky ult orb kills, but nothing else to be said with that one. So G2 cleaning up the anti-eco.
And of course, these teams in the past, the cores of these teams anyway, have played some very explosive Valorant at different times throughout the meta. You think about Victor playing Neon and making space for Ye on this map in the past. You think about Sire Player when he was with the Guard, explosive Jet. But the situation now with these two teams and the comps they're running, I'm expecting this to be slow-paced, more of, and I hate to use the cliche, but more of that like chess match. It's very, very slow-paced, slow moving of pieces around the map, feeling each other out before they commit in a direction, with occasional tempo increases. And if we were going to run a fast round, this would be a decent one to go for G2.
It's a bonus round for them. A lot of danger in it, though, with the weapons that they got. Already you're seeing play picked off. That's Victor. Straight up the gut down mid. That's Leaf just containing this one. He will play aggressive. He will take those fights and not shy away from it.
Yeah, one of the more aggressive players on the team, actually, and he finds himself on Killjoy. He finds the style that he plays. Finesse throws down that barrier mesh. So that's 30 seconds unless they choose to commit and break it. So now Broken pulls the players over.
Pretty evident now this is going to be that A hit. Fault line out through the back. Stun and Paranoia is all connecting here with the C's. Horns over the top. Reinforcements have arrived from NRG, but G2 not committal. just backing away and still holding this one. They don't decide to engage into the site. Now waiting out for that util, and they're going to noise again.
G2 are very happy to go for rotates around the map. So Crashies and Finesse, they've got to anticipate this, going for info.
Oh, this could absolutely backfire entirely on NRG. They need that mid-round information. They weren't going to be granted it. Flash through the back. Dodged by Som, but he can't win the fight out. Not against Icy. Red hot in terms of the form.
30 seconds left.
And another slam dunk round. It's a bonus round conversion for G2.
They're looking immaculate. And I think Valen does such an excellent job of balancing out when he goes for rotates completely across the map and when he goes for rehits. You see there that Finesse probably thought G2 are likely rotating at this kind of timing because Valen loves to run across maps. And here they go for a little bit of a re-explore and run exactly into the stack of G2, all waiting to re-hit the site. And especially when you see Sova breach compositions like the one that G2 are running, they re-hit slowly because you use fault line dart and then you probably wait a full 40 seconds for it to get back online. Or you get gifted kills by people re-exploring, as happened in this instance. So the re-hits tend to have a little slower pace on this map compared to times where you would be seeing the sky being run or something like that, where you can just send out another flash immediately.
Again, highlights the weakness, I think, of NRG's comp on the defense side. I mean, not going to know where these players are landing just because they don't have the, you know, whatever, Killjoy util or any other Sentinel that's more standard than the Deadlock.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyone feeling
this
generous?
Is not a great beginning for NRG, but we saw them make an enormous comeback when they played against Sentinels on their attack side. Now, that time, it was powered by Finesse having great calling, but also Victor playing the Neon. And that caused enormous problems for Sentinels on Sunset.
Interesting idea on a half buy, just deep down, C-Long taking control of that one. Victor is going to be absorbing a lot of this aggression, just cannot reset the aim. Cooling down a Sheriff long enough for him to land that shot. Valen removing him from the fight. Through the back of the side as well. That's going to be Icy just posting himself up. This will be a nuisance for them. NRG are trying to get this retake on the go. Still, sees, connects. They do spot him out. Want to try and take the first brunt of all of this. And a lot of utils being just expended to try and clear him out of position. Finally removing him. Get him out of there, but now they have to try and play this post plan with a lot of time left. It's all being removed away from them. Barrier match will not be stopping any sort of darts or the aftershock. Plenty of beautiful, bountiful in terms of what G2 have got to work with. And it's all essentially laid out for them nice and easy into another round win. 4 in a row for G2.
A great calling again. Valen realizes that push is happening down C-Long, reacts very quickly into B, and they play what is quite a typical standard post-plan setup. I think Finesse throws the wall down there because it's going to body block for him, actually. That really large central orb can absorb a lot of damage that might be thrown in
case they spam with bullets.
Yeah, looking to go for the diffuser. But they didn't use the bullets. They used a shock dart and an aftershock. And so, not quite finding that, but something to keep an eye on for the future because they must get value out of this unusual composition in unusual ways.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt. It was looking like an A lobby fight, but I didn't realize Ethan has picked up the op, so.
Yeah, just trying to get posted onto the angle. He's obviously got this gate crash over in Spawn as well. And Ethan's got now posted onto a pretty decent line, but I don't think they realize that Icy and Valen are already passed over towards A-Long.
Yeah, they've taken the time and passed him.
I mean, there's potential.
They made
crashes.
Noise.
Yeah, they might drive him into Ethan.
They might be able to just pluck one out of the scene. Valen gone. Exploration out towards Garage. That's the reaction from G2 here, but again, nothing fast. To be here in this util, just trying to pre-aim it to get rid of it. That's Leaf aiming for it through the wall.
But this definitely feels like the first chance for NRG to do something. They've got that first kill, which has been eluding them. Been losing a lot of the early round battles. And Valen also down, so no smokes for G2. It's so hard to commit onto a site on Haven without them.
But they want to just go straight, pathing. Almost looked like they wanted to go to the A site. Instead, just pushing Ethan away, getting that plant down. Once more onto the B site. But what's the next layer to this for G2? To replay it down, he might have to make the decision, but it's handed to him. Leaf, it's granted easy access to even out the fight to that 4-on-4. Him versus Som might even stand up to that challenge, but no, just backing away, shying away, paranoia up in his face. Could be in the danger zone still, but Som just doesn't expect him to be placed there. Drop down now, Hunter's Fury. That's going to be used into the choke point, and 80 damage, but a multitude of targets, including the kill. Victor, he's finished. 2 left to stand in a retake. Even with the off, it just doesn't look doable. And G2, they've come so well versed into this one. It doesn't matter that they lose that opening advantage. First pick not going their way. They want to take this operator out of Ethan's hands. No consolation prizes for him.
5-0. I really can't overstate how difficult it is to pull off a round win like that. You're down 4v5 and you're committing into B, which you have multiple crossfires coming from C-Link and A-Link that you need to cover without having a smoke agent online.
Finished.
No controller whatsoever. And they put their players into positions with good initiator utility, and they've got Leaf deep lurked into that position in top window, again abusing the fact that NRG are not running a classic Sentinel.
Yeah, I mean, you can pick that round out into a telestrator and go through beat by beat.
You absolutely
every
could.
single element of it that the G2 are doing.
And I think G2 are doing such a great job of adapting their game plans to what NRG are going for. This is not just a team that's pulled a bunch of strats out of a strat book. They're forced to adapt on the fly, and yet it looks so great from G2. I think there are matches. Well, first of all, let me zoom out. G2 have been criminally underrated for a while now. You've got to say it. They're the #1 team from Americas in terms of performance at Shanghai, though they came in as the 2nd seed. But they've been marred by this 4-3 record in the regular season. You can see it there at the top of the screen. And I mean, our analyst desk, I don't mean to roast them again, but 5th in the power rankings.
Yeah.
For the team that got to Shanghai, made it the deepest, had a very similar run actually to 100 Thieves, but had some impressive victories and lost only to the finalists.
Yeah.
And I think at some point there's going to be a match that wakes people up and makes them recognize how good they are. And, you know, they're playing pretty flawlessly right now.
This could be a chance for NRG, though, on the weaker buy here. Looks like a clash ready. Might be happening. Grabnet, that's a connection onto 2, at least with that initiator util. It was a fault line, it was good. Coming out of Jonah P, it's slowed down this push by NRG. Actually can't take the fight themselves. Flashes a dodge, the TP to evacuate, but Som is still hard committed into this spot. Smoke, it's propped up and placed up. All eyes on Leaf here. Does he expect this one? Will he clear this corner? Will he even decide to commit? Shoulder to shoulder. Doesn't overplay his hand, though. G2 are so good at just this pause that they insert into the middle of the round. Going for these contact reclears.
The contact reclear here is lovely. They knew that the Yoru had gotten out. They heard that gate crash.
And they heard the jumping as well towards the back of the side. FNS taking a bit of damage in the process, but the dart completely clears that through the back. Leaf striker on the side. That was the best chance they really had in a while. Now he is being pressured. Still, the weaponry not ideal for NRG, but if they do take out Leaf, maybe there's a chance. He's making it so damn hard for them.
Ethan's there trying to get back through garage. That's a deadlock wall in his face.
Yeah, he wasn't expecting that.
The anti-synergy there. Ethan, the one that was able to retrieve that Phantom, but has to do so much in this spot. Don't think there's anything happening here.
No.
Another round, obviously G2 with an enormous economy advantage, but another round that they navigate really nicely.
Just missing the timing.
Yeah, okay. A little bit of danger as Ethan pokes and prods, trading out crashies, but he's not going to be able to get the defuse in this spot. This is all just a silver lining on what was otherwise quite a cloudy round. That push down C-Long with Ethan and Som, the Gravnet to set it up is a lovely idea. NRG have clearly been in the lab cooking some of these up, but instantly, this is what I'm talking about. G2 have not been running scrims against people doing this strat and had something preset, but instantly they've got counter utility, Icy throwing out a one-way, then throwing out a second cloudburst on the floor to cover the fact that they have to pull themselves up from the ground, out of the Gravnet. The cover for themselves to counter what G2 are going for is lovely, and then once they get to a position of stability, Valen's calling takes over and delivers them.
Scanning ahead.
Just got so many good protocols that are, I mean, super well drilled. It's the word that we use to describe G2 all the time. Always anticipating if there's a bit of aggression, they can have a plan for it. Flash to clear out into mid here, making a bit of noise. Once more, they're putting the operator into Ethan's hands, and he might get his chance.
Closed.
to strike back. Has to dodge the drone for now.
He does not have a gate crash anymore. It expired. He doesn't have a second. So this is dangerous.
It's really risky. He has no way to get out of here.
I mean, if he can get one back up and maybe use his ultimate, that would be the only choice.
They've gone past him now. Pushing up deep into mid here. It's a great exploration by NRG. They're going to be very aware this is going to be landing towards A. Just depends on how fast this flank comes through. That is incredible information. Som just sees about 3 or 4 of them, but Ethan is going to be alone. Operating here, needs to land that shot. Icy just removes him. Leaf tucked to the side. It's Annihilation. It's going to be used to at least remove him, and it needs to be some help. A bailout from the G2 players. NRG, they're going for this one. Dropped out wide. Leaf essentially just left out into the open there. Removed from the wrapping. Crashies dropping out from the high ground. There's a fight on multiple fronts right now, but G2 might still have a bit of control of this. Putting the squeeze onto Trent. Wasn't expecting that one, leaving it just down to that 1v2. Best opportunity that NRG have had in quite some time to win this round. Smoke's propped up. Some sticking it, and it's covered in time. Crashies. One to the dome. Drops the IGL. Finally getting around on the board.
Difficult for NRG, and they used a huge amount of ultimates to get there, but they have eventually gotten their opener. Such a comical situation here as Song just has Leaf hand delivered over to him towards A lobby. At that point, what is the reason for breaking the Annihilation cocoon? But Trent wanted it. But that took a fair few ultimates, and that also took a nicely called mid-round push down, down the gut, down mid, to set Finesse up for that Annihilation onto the player holding the corner. You look at the ultimates and the state of the game, it's completely the other way around in terms of advantages now.
Mixing it up with a bit of a fast play from G2.
That deadlock wall is doing nothing.
No, it just got blown up in a minute. Slight pause now, waiting for the dart towards the back roll in front of her as well. It's going to cleave its way into the site. NRG actually bide their time, and now they're going for the re-hit. This is a nice call by NRG. This time, explosive, but exactly at the right moment. Striking wide the iron is hot, but still Leaf from behind. He'll answer back, and G2 are removing all of them. Trent, it's a masterclass. How have they pulled this from the brink? Crashies now. It's the one with so much more to do. Dropped down into the open with the spike, but picked back up again to plant. Can afford this, Leaf. He's got a space and breathing room here just from the lockdown that is dropped. 1v1 though. Operator in his hands. Leaf is just watching for the cross up here, and Crashies not ready for it. But still with a missed shot. It's a slight jiggle. The reposition. Backs himself away.
Catch them.
Nanoswarm at least onto the spike. Drops it away. Crashies still with a lot to play for here. One haunt available. Going for it. Potentially half onto it. Smoked off. Under the spike, sticky! And nothing to stop it!
Vintage Crashies! Absolutely nuts play there. Leaf robbed. Not that he played it particularly badly, he just missed those 2 off shots when he needed to land it onto Crashies. There's the star clutcher. It was a great round from Leaf as well. I think huge credit to him for playing more aggressively on the lurk to shut down what NRG were going for, but I do agree with you, Brendan. Love that call. They knew it was headed towards C, they dodged the breach shot, and they flooded back in instantly afterwards. The composition there looked really nice, as Ethan led the charge and the rest were close behind.
Find you.
So gradually NRG are picking themselves back up off the floor. How many rounds do they really need on the defensive half?
It's impossible to say, in my opinion, because we just have no measuring point for what NRG's composition is going to do on the attack side. Nobody plays this.
But what we do know is that they have been improving with their attack side rounds overall.
Absolutely.
Yeah, ever since FNS has come back in here. Top line to the corner. Does Ethan have the gate crash? Looks like it's still active. He's just disrespecting it, though.
Do they suspect Ethan being tucked into the corner? When Victor plays the jiggle peek there, alarm bells should be ringing. And Ethan and Victor choose this timing to walk down mid again.
The spam as well. Stray bullets going their way. Ethan now. Good time for the ult. A lot of mid-round information to be Haven't garnered from this one, but 40 seconds left. He spots pretty much all of them, in fact, all of them.
And this looks great. This is delivering so much information over to NRG's defense side that they're lacking because of their composition. Made up for it.
They're going to pivot, though. They still have time.
Apparently not.
Okay, I thought the ult was going to be going to another side. No, just broken.
They are
at least pull these players. They are, but who's going to be meeting them? It's a battle and a race between these players. Som, he's getting a master sprint on right now, this guy. Getting the move on. Smoke propped up into his face. Blooms makes it nice and awkward. Trent,
10 seconds
into the
left.
plant. What's the call now for NRG? Trying to fight back over onto this one here, and they've inserted Valen into this deep tuck position. Out for the back of the side, though. Now playing with a bit of a blitzering play. The trade is immaculate at Ethan. He's online now. Kicked it into a completely different gear. 2v2, though. Where we stand at. Tap onto it, release with the smoke into his face, and he's isolated. One more fight, an ace. It's a possibility. Let's take him onto it. Have at least so many possibilities for Ethan to play with. And wide, but shut down and denied.
God, what a round that was from Ethan. I really believed he had it there. One tiny footstep that Valen threw out made Ethan believe that Valen was about to barrel his way into the smoke. He pulled out the shorty and couldn't connect. Almost had it.
One enemy.
NRG desperately needs somebody to come online in that way. That kind of round is needed. That kind of retake power is needed. And yet still, the scoreline 7-2 for G2, finding their way, navigating through all the danger.
The pre-aim.
That's rough. Victor's been caught a couple of times now in that kind of spot, but it can't deter NRG. They've still got to be going for those mid pushes, because how else are they gathering info? This round, obviously, massive economy advantage for G2. NRG are just thinking about rounds 11, rounds 12. Looking to try to close the half out in a respectable manner.
A lot of utils now been pulled out by NRG here with all the bodies they've got. Grouping up over towards A.
Now, in that previous round, when G2 made the mad dash over towards C, Som, he had teleports and a paranoia to work with. The call from the team was to play one big retake, not for Som to go in and try to delay them and harass them on his own. But in a round like this, where you have less of a chance of winning and it's more trying to get value out of the eco, there was a chance maybe for Som to slip in over towards the other side of the map. Instead, NRG have gone for the group up, and it looks like Valen once more has read the state of the game pretty perfectly.
Maybe just a bit of that conditioning as well, playing a factor. G2
30 seconds left.
went for the re-hit last time they were over towards A, and they got stunted like that, so... Full rotation, plant down now over towards C.
Found them.
Leaf looking to try and hold on. It's going to be pressured. Two players up through mid, two on the flank as well.
But Leaf's been so good in these spots. He's 13 and 4. Made that 14.
They're spotting him though. Hail of bullets going to be raining down, and Anaswarm just gives him that buffer window of opportunity to work with, and Trent was there to back him up as well. Very white-faced by Crashies. It's a decent go of things here, but 12 health. It's going to be another round here for G2, up to 8.
How good has Leaf been at just controlling these positions? Anytime NRG is trying to get onto the flank, Leaf is there. When Leaf spots an opportunity to get an aggressive lurk going, he's deep into positions. We've seen him at top garage window multiple times, making that flank through onto the C side as well. He's been a monster for them on the attack side. Remember, attack side, actually, against Cloud9 on Lotus, he couldn't get going. He was held to only 4 kills. But then he woke up and delivered a monster performance on defense. G2 are running this game right now. NRG with only 2 rounds. And those 2 look good. One still going down to the wire. But it's been barely a glimmer of success for them. And the scoreboard reflects that. With Victor and Finesse only 3 between them after 10 rounds.
And so far, it's all been Valen winning that battle of the RGL's battle of the minds that we've been setting up between these two teams.
Finesse known for his attack side calling, though, so...
Oh, for sure.
You know, you just have to get... If they can close things out 8-4 here, I think Finesse will still feel fairly confident in his abilities as a caller. We don't really know what to expect, because the comp's so unusual.
Hunter's Fury is going to use the supplement disto, push through onto the A site. Very explosive. The Hornet is good. Does spot out and reveal a few of these G2 players, but NRG not making a decent go of things here. Trent could get caught, and it's an off angle by Victor. Does find that one. It was a reflank attempt by him. Going to take the first bullet. Drops it back and away. There's waves of that util, at least with the mollies and the nanoswarms just to stop them. Crashies holding on to it. The Nightfall now going to be used here, and it covers pretty much the entirety of the site with flashes combined. Paranoia. Ethan just trying to take this fight. Valen still locking it down and holding it down. Still, it's a battle with these fights, and it is being won out by NRG. Just tucked into the hell position. The adjustment isn't there. Not from Icy. So a third one now for NRG. Well played there in the retake.
It is tough to play retakes against G2's composition as well, because they've got Paranoia, Aftershock, Fault Line, these kind of things to throw out at you. You see how much delay there is for NRG to get into a site, and yet they still prevail, still succeed. The retake style is working here for NRG with this unusual comp. Even after Ethan fell in the 4v4, posted up, good team play of Victor and Crashies.
That's up, bro. Let's go.
There's going to be one last hurrah here from NRG.
Here.
Dragging together a bit of a buy, only just the one Guardian really. It's the weakest point for them, but they're stacking over towards the A site now. 3 of their players potentially looking for a refight.
Drop in a smoke.
Certainly hoping that G2 were going in that direction. They had the opportunity to haunt and flash through that smoke, and instead Ethan repositions to top garage.
And what's going to be asked of Victor? Drop himself up towards his backside position. Icy, it's an updraft dash. Still isolates that fight onto Finesse and still takes him down. Quick flash, bit of util as well. It's the bait and pivot. It's so hard to get a read on where G2 might be finishing.
Yeah, they've left, but they've inserted Leaf through all of that distraction up top garage. These are these deep lurks that really NRG have no knowledge of. Ethan suspects it could have happened.
Time to jump.
But they don't have confirmation.
I'll handle
this. All hopefully a bit more information for them. So Leaf spotted. See that one. Might be indicating that it is going to be that hit over towards C now, and the committal is called with only about 40 seconds on the board. Som out through the back. He's going to try and drop this one and drop the bodies. He will. 2-4. Right beneath his gaze and weapon, just with the Guardian in hand. Hops back up. Plenty more where that came from, but a rip around by Trent. Not enough in the end. Too much to overcome.
That's a really needed recovery for NRG. A4 at the half. If they can win pistol, maybe even if they can't, Finesse will try to lead them from the bottom of the scoreboard to a win here on Haven.
Enemy spotted B.
But they had so many struggles with their composition on this side of the map. Very difficult for Victor to get online with the Clove. Tough for them to get into positions to run this retake style that did in the end work. Hard fought, but they won 4 out of the final 6 rounds.
Well, let's get a quick word up from Jonah P about G2's learnings from Shanghai.
Say the biggest surprise for us was how bad we start our games. I think 4 out of 5 or 3 out of 4 of our games we've lost the first map, and basically we just always had to make a comeback, which we did. We showed that a lot, but at the same time it's just more pressure and stress added onto us having to do that. So I'll say that was a big surprise for us, like not being used to just like getting destroyed first map and having to dig ourselves out.
And I think that's another reason why people have been underrating G2 a little bit, because there have been these maps, even in their victories, where the team gets destroyed. Wow, Boostio's tweet.
I mean, okay.
Just a perpetual troll.
Still giving it the chat, yeah. Okay.
Of course he is. You're never going to shut Boostio up. Doesn't matter that he's lost the last 2 matches. But I think everybody will have their eyes on what these teams look like heading towards the end of the season. These are your potential playoff opponents. Both of these teams, I find it a little challenging to make playoffs. This match,
yeah, they are
very important. There is still a chance that you can go 5-5 and make it into playoffs, but I think that's rough.
He didn't buy it. He doesn't know.
It's not. It's not my cat sweater. I'm sorry. I can't help you there. I can't help you.
Yeah. No, but you're right. It's weird to say as well, because we don't have anything definitive. We can't say, listen, when you get to 6, you've made playoffs in Americas.
Yeah, it's not
still win with a chance if you go 5-5. There's still opportunities. It's weird the way it works with the round robin, but what we do know is that every single win that both of these teams get from this point on will make it that much easier. And for NRG, it does essentially need to be perfect. It will make it much harder if they drop even a single series.
Yes, 6-4 looks like it's the record that we're going to need for teams to get into playoffs. Now that is not by any means mathematically calculated. It looks that way at the moment.
So Gresson, okay, G2, they're pushing out on the pistol straight through mid. They just spot the top of the head. Fault line is a little bit delayed in the coverage there by Ethan. Swings out. Wasn't tagged up by that one, so that's nice by NRG. Immediately with 2 opening kills going their way, looking to set it in a different tone and direction once more. Over towards the C side. Starting to see more evidence as well of that attack side calling from NRG ever since FNS has come back into this roster, into the fold. It's dramatically improved. Don't have the numbers on hand, but you'll have to believe me.
Yeah, it's very evident just based on the eye test. They've looked a lot more comfortable. Valen baited in.
Yeah, just a slight jiggle. There's no way against it!
Oh, no!
No way!
That's a fumble of epic proportions.
Turn back with the fire here to seize. At least does connect, tethers him and locks down into the position and place. Still chances to overcome this one for NRG. Quick reload, Trent down onto the 1 HP, no way! You have got to be kidding me. Victor, 47 HP, time ticking, up onto the spike. And Trent forced to stick this one, and it gives Victor the easy kill. Red Bull clutch in the end, and a pistol round win. Necessary stuff for NRG.
Should that one have ever come down to a clutch? I don't think so. You've got setups there that are almost unlosable, and Valen somehow wiggled his way through that duo play. That's really rough from Finesse and Som, the newest additions to NRG.
Right click. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes the Classic is absolutely blessed, but sometimes, you know, you should just be closing that one out. Has it damaged the economy too badly for NRG, though? No. They've gotten away with it a bit there.
Pistol round wins. The money's good, looking to, again, send it over towards C.
Yeah, and I think you're going to see Victor and Som throwing a lot of these on-smoke sites, trying to get into aggressive positions. They need to use their double smoke comp for map control.
It's a fake. Drawing out a bit of that util, even the rotations as well. You can see 4 players now stacked up. G2 side.
Shadows. And Victor was just holding, waiting to see if anybody was pushing out of garden. So while Valen dominated the attack side in terms of his calling, finding those gaps, once more, I think it bears reiterating that Finesse is known for being an attack side caller. It's normally his teams thrive on that side of the map. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him also have similar levels of success here, where he feels out the stack, has that intuitive read on the game, and leads them towards emptier sites on the other side, as he's doing right now. Pushing things into Leaf, who's only got the Classic and a turret to work with.
That Leaf even just taken out as well.
30 seconds.
He's watching for it, a contact push over towards A, so it will be that free plan for NRG. This is where they can get their feet back underneath them.
Absolutely, especially if it's clean and they can take a lot of this weaponry into the bonus round. 2 Bulldogs, a Vandal to work with. If Ethan can push forwards and get the Yoruel online too, you know, you've got so many plays that you can make out the back of that. Probably the one that comes to mind the most is having Ethan running around and trying to set up a paranoia off the back of it, where he pops out of his ultimate to face blinded opposition. But I think there's some serious stuff that NRG here can do with their ultimates once those come online too. Just think about the interactions with Nightfall and then Ethan coming out of an ult or a gate crash, or some teleporting into a weird spot whilst Victor smokes for the exec. Ethan's really trying to get this ult online.
This is the most well-drilled denial of eco kills I've ever seen. Yeah. I mean, G2 setting up one ways over and over again, stunning him with the fault line.
Oh, well.
But still,
one away, you can absolutely get that orb on the attack side. Now, whether or not NRG want to play in that kind of way, it can end up being a bit predictable. So top-level attack side callers will not always play to their obvious outs.
Wow.
And what a shot that was.
30 seconds left.
I'm not sure if there was an indicator prior or what, but bonus round, we're talking about it. This is the thing that should be getting NRG back into the game. If they manage to convert this one, things will start looking good again.
Not playing over towards C to try to get that orb.
Full shock dart. Trent just trying to
revealing area.
Set the tone over towards the A site. Dart's going to be broken as well. It's a pretty big indicator that there's players that have disrespected the util, especially with the Prowler now being used. And these players over towards the A site do need to be careful of this one. They could be jumped on pretty quickly. Fault line goes off to the side here. There's a smoke. The Paranoia all coming through. TP into the back by Ethan. It's nice. It's clean, but Valen potentially cleaner, at least with that rifle. Here's the flood attempt by Jonah P once more. One more flash available to him, but the reposition doesn't bait themselves in. He's going for that re-swing out wide into the face. And some will eventually drop Jonah P. It was becoming a bit of a problem the way he was weaving in and out, but it's down to that 2 versus 2. NRG still needs to get the spike planted and down. And it's not being covered. So I'm just anticipating they might try and play that one a little bit slow, and they knew exactly where Crashies were.
All right.
And you know why Crashies isn't covering that? Because they have no info on the flank. Obviously, maybe, you know, if your Sentinel gone down, you can't always cover the flank, but the composition is always going to be worried for NRG about somebody making that big play around a push down mid, a pinch play in the retake. But I think both teams have played this kind of round really nicely. NRG have clearly got some great ideas of how to get Ethan into good positions. The Gravnet there to follow up on default. But G2 throwing great smokes from Valen to allow those players to anchor the site and play flood defense. Pleasure to watch teams that understand how to play Haven well.
Yeah, it is. This is just crazy stuff. One-way smoke that's NRG's. Block that deep angle.
Yeah, and also stop anybody from jump spotting. One of the most common ways of gaining C long control is just going to be jump spotting default like that. Some makes it much more difficult. Ethan's ultimate online. They need a win in this round, and it would harm the economy of G2.
Down to that minute mark. Slow and steady from NRG. Trent with the jiggle. Might even overstepped himself, but now just backs away now. Quite a bit of information going to be gathered just from that.
Pulling out that shorty, it seems to indicate that Ethan wants to go for this fairly soon.
You can see he's very worried about the flank, though. Possibility of it occurring, but time's dwindling. There's a stack from G2. It's all about this util and how well it clears. The positioning of the G2 players. Conventional drift going to be spotting them out. Dart's already going to be used. Grabnet as well. Should be pointing out a lot of these players in the positionings as well as that. The smoke's coming down. Sees out through the back. Finally out of the ult and out of the fight. For all the G2 players, an attempt to flood in is swatted out of the sky.
And that one is lovely. NRG have certainly been in the lab on these execs. You could see it a little bit in round 15, and they're on perfect display here in round 16. A lineup for Finesse as well to get that deadlock wall really deep over towards CT. That's going to make things difficult for people to flood back in. A Gravnet over towards default. Flashes for them to follow up on. Paranoia goes into hell. A flash that Ethan himself can send out. There's just so much going on for those G2 players to deal with.
That's why we were saying as well, you know, the turn of the second half when it was just looking at 8-4. I wasn't so eager to put the nail in the coffin for NRG. Their attack side calling, and you never really know how much, you know, work they put in as well with this composition. Sometimes, you know, when teams come out with it, it can be a game of two sides, two halves. Definitely evident here that they have put that work in, I think, just from everything that we've seen so far.
Yeah. And remember, NRG are no strangers to running weird compositions on Haven. They previously ran like a Phoenix double Sentinel composition that saw Victor on Phoenix super attack-sided comp, even though it was running a double Sentinel. Chet is down to cook up some weird stuff at times. And Finesse, in collaboration, really makes it work. Ethan's got 17 kills here across 16 rounds. Now, Leaf has continued to have huge amounts of impact as well, so they've both got players stepping up. But you can see here on the attack side that it's going to be very difficult for Leaf to continue that level of impact against these NRG executes. At some point here, G2 might have to make an adjustment and play more retake kind of style, because this looks tough to hold on.
And a hard retake, so you know, just re-clearing for that space in the mid-round, getting a better idea of where things land.
Now, for anyone who's keeping track at home, yeah, Finesse pied.
Oh, he did? Oh, I missed that.
3 and 14.
Well.
Some would be loving it if he was co-streaming.
Yeah, that's an IGL moment.
But alas, you're here. Yeah, I mean, the utility on these execs are still good, and Finesse's calling on the attack side has still been really nice, but he has been struggling to get value in spots with his rifle. Is that going to end up making the difference? It's hard to say.
Is this hard read? Upper end of attack timeout, 4-player stack. I mean, you would go for something like this anyway, I think, if you're on the half-by round, but...
Here.
And here's the question, does Finesse get the read on this?
NRG stacked up with 5 players. Looks very committed from our point of view. Prowler doesn't spot anything. The fault line to punish. Are they going to be ready? It's Icy with the rifle. He's the one with the real danger into this one, but just trying to get out of there. Pulls out the knife. NRG might just try and go for this one. Potential is there, at least with the smoke in their face. Second thoughts creeping in. Prowler through and around. Oh, down at their own, actually just landed itself. Yeah, it landed right into the body. How to get taken care of. And chipped it down. All this util is flying forwards, and Leaf has gone walkabouts into mid. A lot of mid-round information going to be granted to him. There is that rotation call by NRG. He's going to hear the footsteps. Oh, but he might just open himself up to it. This is a dangerous position to be in.
He's wondering where to go. Yeah. Thinking about going back over towards mid there. Decides to get out on A. Makes it a bit tough for NRG. They got spotted real early on there because of Leaf.
No way! What is that? Damage being done just absolutely skewers them. Down for away long. Finesse needs to win this fight out, but the rifle's been handed over. Jonah P with that in his hands.
30 seconds left.
Topples the IGL, and this is a disaster right now for NRG.
Victor left alone in a 1v4. It's him that's going to pick up these pieces. Out wide though, Jonah P. I'm expecting that one with the forward face. Still the dart flies over and time is running against him. Victor has got no choice now but to try and stick this plant. And the bodies are going to swarm at any moment now. Momentarily. Bit of patience being played just from that smoke, but he misses the timing. One to the back of the head will do it. So G2 on a half-by round. Very clear ideas of how they wanted to play that.
Leaf is taking liberties here. He is loving playing against this NRG composition that can't control flanks. We've got to see it in the replay. I don't blame the observers for missing it because you don't expect that.
You don't expect that.
Collapse. But both through the wall as well. I mean, that couldn't get any better for Leaf in that kind of position. But how does he get into that spot? Because NRG forced to stall out against the stack over towards C, and Leaf reads the game and knows that he can just walk down mid.
It begins.
I think NRG might need somebody covering the flanks, but that's going to weaken their exec.
Yeah. One less player for it. For the full committal. Victor is the one who's just trying to hold this. There's a dart at his back. He is lit up. Icy not wanting to commit to the punish there, just in case there were more players backing him. Everybody else from NRG looking to set their sights over towards the C side. It's a grab net, TP committal. Well thought out with it, but there's going to be the lockdown. Now utilized by G2. This will clear out most of the sites. Spike still not planted. FNS now finally going to at least commit.
It's not good. Is he going to be able to get
what's going on here? Annihilation off into the corner. I mean, he is stuck here, surely detained. He did get the one reeled in. They got to break that one. Got the time to do so. Still safe for it. Up through mid. Victor seeking to find it. This is getting sloppy. It's getting a bit messy. A tap onto it. Counter spam. And now with a Hunter's Fury. Trent. Pretty predictable positioning going to be played by a lot of these NRG players. And they are beamed down. Cleaved down.
Defuse the spike.
Bit of a gap in the protocol there for NRG. They should have been able to get the plan down way earlier on. A wasted ultimate as well from Finesse. Threw it out just to avoid himself being punished. But that's the kind of ult that you would love to have if things go down to the clutch there. Annihilation on a player defusing, that's looking great. And instead forced to use it early on, and the rest of G2 takes site control easily off the back of Leaf's lockdown. Every round you can point to impact that Leaf is having. Whether it's something to do with his ultimate here, whether it's something to do with a push that he's got down mid and a ridiculous Kalat kill in A lobby, or whether it's his crazy lurks on the attack side, he's been an absolute nightmare finding the gaps and the pain points for NRG.
Sitting at 22-9. I mean, top of the scoreboard. He stormed it, man. Right there, tippity top for G2. As he's known to do, honestly, he can take over games on the Killjoy.
He can. He certainly can. And I thought it would be getting more and more difficult for Leaf because you really can't hold on as a Killjoy against what NRG are throwing out in their executes. But he's found these moments, you know, in a retake scenario or when things get quiet in a mid-round. He's not so much getting this value by anchoring, he's getting the value by finding timings against NRG, by being active. So the timeout finishes. NRG now 4 behind. And Victor has picked up the Glass Cannon Vandal, trying to make value out of Clove's ult.
Here.
It's looking like a B-pop called for Finesse. And what is this read again from G2?
Here.
They keep finding the stacks in the right spots, at least to begin the round.
Yeah, Valen's practically in the comms, man. Certainly inside his head. 3-player stack just in case. Deep smoke, but obviously this high ground angle, Ice is going to be able to see anybody who just walks up. It's a jump spot. Diligence is at least there for FNS.
You see how Leaf's utility here is giving them garage information. And that allows players to stack in other positions. That's the biggest value of getting info passively, is that your players don't have to be watching it. They can play crossfires and stack other areas, make those spots stronger. It's a slow pace beginning to the round. And G2 now incentivized to push down mid.
Calling for re-clear, this player's watching. At least Victor to contain. Plenty more where that came from as well. NRG might be even willing and eager to take this fight here. Could be the difference maker. Dash doesn't get Icy out of dodge. Victor has to pop up that ult now, but now needs to hunt down for at least a kill or a damage and assist. Get back into the action and Frey. Trent spraying him down. Blinded up though, Valen forced to back. Gravnet connects, TP to disengage.
30 seconds left.
Not willing to take that fight into B. Straight over towards A now. Full rotations. A lot to clear, though, in the position that they're in, but they do have that player advantage. Trent. Pushed up onto that high ground.
Oh, that's
getting a reload off, 12 seconds. Tapping away, not cover, the reactions, everybody's falling. And Som, but the Gen to do it all in that 1v1. With G2 now up to 12. It's a single round that'll do it for them. They've been in complete control.
I didn't realize, I genuinely hadn't understood how personally Leaf took not making Tokyo last year. He's 25 kills, 3K in that round as well. Trent also doing a huge job from A Heaven there, getting one and a huge amount of damage onto Finesse, but Leaf is dominant here today, finding outsized impact. And look at Jonah P there, putting that down, still with the triple stack over towards the B site.
I mean, this is a crazy committal by Trent. While all this is happening as well and all that pressure gets applied and Trent's absorbing it and calming it, Leaf's going walkabouts. This guy, he's unleashed.
It's your fear!
He's got such a great read on the game.
And Nightfall comes in from the side, at least Trent's going to be deafened. Be able to hear too much coming for him. Now with the util out and open, spray transfer not able to be hit. Trent again, this guy cannot be removed, and this is it, the turning point for the map. It's NRG who have to really just grapple onto any chance, any hope, but it's all being denied, all being ripped away from them. The Blade Storms for the final finish and the final blow. G2. There were definite chances for NRG, don't get me wrong, but that was a masterclass, beginning to end for G2.
It certainly was. They opened it up spectacularly, had NRG on the back foot right from the beginning, and despite the fact that the middle of this map got tense and competitive, G2 closed it out with more phenomenal performances from Leaf and from Trent. You're completely correct, especially in those final 2 rounds. Ridiculous the way that G2 were able to pivot, adapt, and overcome against NRG, and such an unusual, unique comp that they brought out to play with here.
Battle of the Minds here. I mean, it really did live up to that potential and expectations that we had. We're going to be stepping away. Geek Heavy in the analyst desk, of course, going to be breaking it all down. Map number 1, don't go anywhere.
Every time I needed a new phone, I had to switch carriers.
I told him, at Verizon, everyone can get the best deals. Like that iPhone 15 on them.
Switching all the time? It wasn't easy.
35. You're gonna be here forever.
I know.
Here's your wireless contract.
Do I need a lawyer for this? Those were hard days.
Representative switch.
Now that I got a huge storage and battery upgrade, I'm officially done switching.
New and existing customers get iPhone 15 on us when they trade in any iPhone, any condition, guaranteed.
I really wish you told me sooner.
I did.
Red Bull gives you wings.